On the air. Are we on the air? Are we on the air yet? On the air with Susan Powter. Hi, this is Susan Powter. I'm so glad you're listening to my live radio shows on eating, breathing, and moving. Wellness, oh, it's so important. I mean, if you ain't got your health, what do you have? This is a wonderful opportunity, you guys. Start a radio library. Yeah, I mean, think about this. You can start your own library so you can refer back to, get the information if you forget it, go back and remind yourself if you need reminding. I know people who are doing it. They love it. They use their radio libraries so much. So instead of a book library, start your radio library. There's just one thing you got to do. You've got to disregard my 888 number in the show unless you want to call my show between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. weekdays, Pacific Standard Time. That's when I do my show, you know, it's live. So if you can call me, then please do. If you want my show in your city, if it's not there yet, call 1-888-999-6421 and ask who to call, then call them and tell them, we want the Susan Powter radio show. In the meantime, you can get the show. All you got to do is start your wellness radio library. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy. Oh, we're so confused about food. We think there's good fat and bad fat. We think it's good to have unsaturated versus saturated. We believe this stuff. Oh, no. We must clear this up. Do you really believe you need a teaspoon of oil a day to be healthy? No, let's talk about essential fatty acids. Let's talk about where we're getting our fat from. Let's talk about the truth. Let's talk about food, shall we? After all, we're bribed and manipulated, and our behavior is set by the standard of, since day one, all of us. There isn't anybody listening that doesn't have a food issue. Because everybody that goes to the dentist gets a lolly if they're good. So bingo, we're all screwed by food. That's done. But food, we are so far from reality. So we got to talk about food. Anything you want to ask, anything you want to talk about when it comes to food, which is, when you think about it, we have such control over how we look, how we feel, our energy levels, how our brain is functioning by what we ingest. It's one of our biggest, strongest powers that we have daily. We're clueless. We are clueless when it comes to the food we eat. I said to somebody the other day, water foods. I said, watermelon, would that give you a clue? Water foods. When you cook rice, you cook it into whatever cups of, you're cooking 4 cups of rice, you cook it in 2 cups of water. Where do you think the water goes? Into the food. It's not there when you eat it, is it? Water-rich foods as opposed to dehydrating foods. What would be dehydrating? Dead flesh? Would that be dehydrating? Does it have any water in it? Blood? Ew. That wasn't the baby, that was me. Ew. Ew. Or my impression of a whale. Ew. Ew. We got to talk about food, you guys, because it is a very important part of our life. Why do you think we're so confused? Why do we not know? Why do we believe we need a teaspoon of olive oil a day to be healthy? Where did that come from? Anyway, we're talking about food. Call me at 1-888-55-SUSAN. That's 1-888-557-8726. I swear it came out of the mouth of somebody the other day. I said Whole Foods. They said what? Like foods with holes in them, like donuts? They said it. 5 years ago, I was in Dallas, Texas, working with a client in the studio. I asked her about Whole Foods. She got really, really, really excited. She came in the next week for her consultation. She had bought canned beans. That was a fresh whole food to her, a canned bean. Okay, so we got to talk about food. Come on, let's talk about what real is, what whole is, what water-rich is, what dead is, what dehydrating is, what nutrient-rich, fiber-filled. Why are we sucking down wood pulp as fiber, bought in a specialty store to be mixed in water? Why don't we just eat the skin of the apple? Why don't we eat the fiber? Why do we even think about it? Oh my God, we're so far from what's natural and normal, so we're going to get back there. And guess who's at the bottom of it all? Food manufacturers. Swear to God. We're never going to get any advertisers for this show. Do you know that? Do you know people grovel for advertisers in this industry? Anyway, we're talking about food. Let's talk about chemicals. Let's talk about the sugar substitutes that we eat that have a warning label on the side of them. What other food do you know has a warning label? You'll call me. You'll tell me. Call me at 1-888-55-SUSAN. That's 1-888-557-8726. We're talking about food and anything you want to say about it. Wendy, you're on the air. What about food?
What about food? Well, Susan, 2 weeks ago, I started following your advice in your book, Sober and Staying That Way.
Oh, don't you love that Wendy?
I love it. I've been sober for 2 weeks.
Muzzle
I've
tough.
Craved once.
Yay, wait, let's just say that. Yay, yay. Now, Wendy, we've got to say this because you know I don't hawk products, but I'm going to say this. Best book ever written on the subject of alcoholism is Sober and Staying That Way. Wendy, you and I both, and millions of us, by the way, suffering from the disease of alcoholism, if you treat it nutritionally, if you treat it with vitamins and biochemically, you will not have cravings for alcohol, which makes sobriety just a little easier, doesn't it, Wendy?
Well, what's amazed me is that I have had no white sugar. I have had no white flour. I instantly went out and got whole grain, bean, and have been making things myself, and I hate to cook. And because of this, there's no cravings.
Refined white sugar. Now remember, you bring up the point that we should actually begin on. There's no reason not to begin this show on this subject. Refined white sugar is a non-food. We're not talking about sugar naturally. We're not talking about sugar that comes from the cane. We're talking about refined white sugar, which is so processed, 90% of the plant is thrown out, 10% of the most concentrated is kept in. It is bleached, it is pummeled, it is cooked over lime salt 1,000,000 times over. It is reduced to nothing except a nuclear bomb as far as our blood sugar is concerned. It is sweeter than anything was ever intended to be. It has nothing to do with nature. It has no nutritional value at all, and it destroys our blood sugar balance. It is non-food. Refined white flour is equal. It is non-food by the time they bleach it and pummel it and destroy the food. Again, they throw away the food, and what you're left with is Play-Doh, basically. And when you eliminate these non-foods and give your body real food, it functions better, doesn't it, Wendy?
It's not just functioning better, I don't eat half as much because my body doesn't demand anything. It's taking its time to break down the whole foods.
Well, now you bring up the other point, processed versus whole, that when your body has something to metabolize, when it has something to distribute, when it has something to live on, not only does it increase your metabolic rate, not only does it aid and support digestion, proper digestion, your body's actually functioning, doing what it's supposed to do. It's the difference between eating food and non-food. Wendy, you're so smart, it's ridiculous.
No, you are. I read your book and followed your advice.
Wendy, tell the world to read that book, Sober and Staying That Way, because
I have told about 10 people so
we
far.
have to change current recovery thinking and get alcoholics more than just discussion as treatment. Amen, Wendy. Wendy's sober. Oh, my God, because she's eating and she's going to treat her body with the nutrients that her body needs to live, and she's not going to crave alcohol, and it's a physical disease, and she's treating it physically. Oh, my God, nothing could make me happier than that first call. Jeez. You know, ain't life grand. Anyway, we're talking about food. Let's talk about food. Anything you want to say about food, by the way, we'll talk about it, because we are so far from what's normal. We are so far from what's right, whether it's whole food, whether it's saturated versus unsaturated, whether it's being bribed and manipulated by food. Whatever you want to say about food, give me a call and we'll talk. 1-888-55-SUSAN. That's 1-888-557-8726. Delmer.
Yeah.
What do you think about food, Delmer?
I think that you did a wonderful thing concerning your baby.
I am relactating.
Uh-huh. With
Don't-
the mother's milk, you saved it.
Oh, Delmer, that's so sweet. I thank you for that. Well,
Oh, it's not just that. I have been a farmer all my life as far as cattle and stuff. I know about these things. And the rule of thumb is, for instance, a baby calf, milk. Got to have mother's milk within the first 12 hours or the following happens. It's stunted for life or it dies.
Delmer, I'm going to tell you this. I have done more media than any human being you've ever met. I have never heard anybody bring that point up. Delmer, the calf has to have mother's milk within the first 12 hours or it's stunted for life or dies.
Period.
Delmer, oh my God, I have chills from this show. I'm already 2 minutes in. Delmer, thank you, Delmer. Right on, a 37-year-old farmer man bringing up the importance of mother's milk.
This subject has been widely discussed in my family.
My God, it's a man who's on a farm who knows about the importance of mother's milk for the animal and the baby animal. Human milk, the best milk. Well, you want to talk about food, Delmer? And you've brought it up. Thank you, my friend. We can control what we ingest every day, and what we ingest very much is connected to how we feel. Casey, you're on the air. What do you want to say about food?
Susan, I wanted to know, what are the first foods besides breast milk that you're going to start feeding your baby?
Well, first, a baby...
Later on, I know.
Yeah, as a baby can survive for a long, long time on breast milk, and when they start reaching for it, this is what I did with my other children. You know, I have a 14 and 15-year-old son that I breastfed also. I never bought a jar of baby food in my life. What I did was, I would take the little baby grinder, I'd put the beans in, and I'd grind it up and feed them beans. Whatever I ate, they ate. When I had, toast for breakfast, they had toast. When I had oatmeal, they had oatmeal. When I had soup, they had soup. My son was eating sushi when he was like 15 months old. I would go to a sushi restaurant in Dallas, Texas. I love sushi. And I get the vegetarian sushi, and I would go, and he was living on sushi when he, before he could walk. So whatever I ate, they eat. And this baby, Gabriel, will eat whatever I eat. When we all have dinner, he'll have dinner.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
And I can tell you the best thing that my kids loved, Casey. Oh, they love this so much. Thanks for calling. My kids love stewed fruits. I would make stewed apples and stewed pears. They would love them. I mean, it was the sweetest. Ice cream, whatever I ate, they ate. I never understood, and I'm not being a self-righteous pig, I never understood anyone that would go and buy a can of food for babies. Just make food and eat it. You got it in the fridge, man. Cook it up and eat it. But, maybe I go get an organic can if I'm traveling, or I don't know, but I still don't see the point then. They can eat whatever I'm eating. So anyway, to me, it's just logical. So we're talking about food. Anything you want to say about food? Let's talk about it, because we're so far from normal. This woman says to me the other day, as God is my witness, my doctor told me that I needed to eat a teaspoon of olive oil a day to be well. I said, your doctor is a complete and absolute idiot. Let's start there. Second, if you really believe you need olive oil, eat the olive. And her mouth dropped open. You think you need almond oil? Well, eat the almond. Where do you think it comes from? See how far from normal, by the way, sane, by the way, stop the... Come on, can't blame me. Where do you think the title came from? It is insane how far we have gotten from what is right and normal. Carl, you're on the air. What do you want to say about food?
Susan, your exuberance is exhilarating.
Carl, could you say that again? Because I got a little turned on by that.
Uh-huh.
Your exuberance is what?
Exhilarating.
Hey, Carl.
Hey.
That is so nice. Thank you, Carl.
I've been trying to get to you for days.
Get out. I've probably been trying to get to you too, Carl. I just didn't know it.
We have a 5-year-old daughter, and we're talking about food and sugar, and she's a very picky eater, and for the longest time, behavior, just the sort of temper tantrums up and down, this sort of thing. And we went through all these, tests and allergy tests and things like that, and finally we just said, let's just cut her off the juice. And within a day, she was a completely different child.
Hey, man, what kind of juice was she drinking?
Oh, apple juice.
Like standard?
What every other kid on earth is drinking. All the kids seem to be, addicted to juice.
Well, you know how much sugar is in that juice? Yeah, I mean,
a lot.
You noticed a difference in behavior immediately.
Yeah, and it was interesting that her pediatrician, when we told him of this, he said, well, I only have heard of one case of this in 13 years of practice, and that is your daughter, and I just couldn't believe that.
Well, your pediatrician, I hope that you left that pediatrician.
Well,
because it has been heavily documented, the enormous intake of refined white sugar in our children, behavioral problems, hyperactivity, learning disabilities, ulcers are a sugar disease. You got to go get the book, Carl. I'd love you to do this. Get the book, Sugar Blues by William Duffy. It was written years ago. One of the best still to this day ever written. You must read that book. You must read everything Dr. Mendelsohn ever wrote about children and sugar. Okay. Incredible man. When you find out the truth, there are two things that we need to be extremely concerned about. First and foremost, the refined white sugar and refined white flour. They are one and the same when they hit the body. Refined white flour is in everything, Carl. Think about it. Breads, doughs, pizza, everything. Refined white flour is non-food. So refined white sugar, refined white flour, and the chemicals. Those are the three things that are killing our children.
That might be another issue with our daughter, which we haven't addressed yet, and since she's a picky eater, I mean...
There's a picky eater for a reason, by the way. That is the most telling statement you have made. She's a picky eater.
Yes, very.
You don't even know.
How do we get her off wheat?
Well, here's what you do. It's very simple. You don't make an issue of it at all. What you do is you say, your wife or you or your girlfriend or whoever it is, your partner, decide that you are going to make this commitment. And then what you do is you slowly transform the family's eating habits by creating all of the favorite foods with real food. If you're going to eat pizza, get whole wheat pizza. If you're going to eat bread, get real bread, like made with cornmeal or real, flour, and never, ever, ever touch anything refined white again. When you're going to make cookies and candies and things, you're going to make sure that they're made with barley malt or yinny syrup or molasses or whatever, and you're not going to say a word. And soon what's going to happen to your daughter is she will taste real food, and when she tastes the junk, the cardboard refined junk, she will hate it. She'll spit it out. So you're going to slowly change her taste buds to quality. Do you hear my baby, Carl? Listen. Do you hear my baby? Oh, he's so cute. It's like so cute. He's so cute. Anyway, Carl, that's, huh?
We have a boy coming in March.
Oh, mazel tov, Carl. That's very exciting. Well, here it is, the beginning of the whole family.
Does wheat or will wheat contribute to being congested?
Wheat is a highly allergic food. Strawberries are a highly allergic food. The most congestive food on the planet is dairy. There's no question about that. Dairy, refined white flour, and refined white sugar do so much damage to our internal organs that they cause all kinds of problems. I'm telling you, if 85% of all disease can be directly attributed to lifestyle, and it can, one of the most important components of our lifestyle and whether or not we whatever is what we're eating.
This is the end of Side 1. Please fast forward and begin listening to Side 2.